Okay, so we're finally tackling this one. We're diving deep into Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore. It's a book that's got this reputation,
Yeah.
for being a bit of a puzzle,
Oh, absolutely. A lot of readers finish it with more questions than answers.
which is kind of what we live for here on the deep dive.
Exactly.
So, ready to explore this world. Teenage runaways, prophetic dreams. Oh, and,
Don't forget the man who talks to cats.
right, how could I forget? You can't talk Murakami without a little bit of the feline, huh?
It's practically a trademark at this point.
But for real, though, where do we even begin with a book like this? I mean, there are so many places to start.
Well, one image that always sticks with me right from the beginning is that line about the sandstorm inside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a way to kick off Kafka's story, huh? It's like Murakami is telling you right off the bat, buckle up. Things are about to get weird.
Exactly. And not just weird, but deeply unsettling.
Yeah, totally. Like, it's more than just external stuff happening. It's that feeling of being pulled in different directions from within, like that internal chaos.
Yes.
So how do you interpret that sandstorm inside as the starting point for Kafka's journey?
Well, I think it gets right at the heart of why Kafka feels he has to reinvent himself. He
Yeah.
even renames himself, tries to outrun his past because he sees it as this, well, almost like a curse. And that really resonates with a lot of readers, I think. That desire to escape, to start fresh, to create a new story for yourself. It's something I think we can all relate to on some level.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's not just Kafka who's on a path he didn't exactly choose. You've got Nakata, too. I mean, the guy loses his literacy after a childhood coma, and then suddenly he can, wait for it, talk to cats.
Only Murakami, right?
I mean, really, it's like, how does he even come up with this stuff?
He's got a gift for the surreal, that's for sure.
That he does. But it's also not just playful weirdness, though, is it? I mean, that coma Nakata it's connected to a pretty significant event, World War II. It feels like a hint that there are these deeper historical echoes at play in the story.
You're definitely on the right track. And that's something that becomes even clearer as the story unfolds. Murakami often explores these intersections of personal and collective history in his work.
Right, right. And so we have these two characters, both on these paths that were kind of thrust upon them. Kafka, running from his past, and Nakata, marked by this pivotal moment in history.
And that's where the real puzzle begins, right? How are these two journeys connected?
Because on the surface, they seem worlds apart.
Exactly. And that's Murakami for you. Always playing with our expectations.
It's like he's dangling these threads in front of us, making us wonder if they'll ever connect.
And if so, how? And just as importantly, are these characters actually in control of their own destinies? Or are they being pulled along by forces beyond their understanding?
Okay, so we're already starting to see some of the big questions bubbling up here.
Oh, definitely. And believe me, it gets even more intriguing from here.
See, and this is what gets me about Murakami. It's not like your typical fantasy novel. It's how he weaves these surreal, almost dreamlike elements into everyday life.
Exactly. It's not just that extraordinary things happen, it's that they happen amidst the mundane, the ordinary routines of these characters' lives.
Like, I'm still stuck on that whole raining fish thing. Who thinks of that?
Only Murakami, right. It's those unexpected, often unsettling images that give his work that distinct flavor.
It's like he's asking us, what if the impossible was just a little closer than we think?
And that's where the magical realism comes in. It blurs the lines between what's real and what's imagined. And I think it's no coincidence that this style emerged from a culture like post-war Japan.
You're talking about that mix of tradition and Western influence.
Exactly. You have ancient myths and folklore colliding with modern anxieties, American pop culture, jazz music. It's all swirling together in this fascinating way. And I think you can feel that energy, that sense of displacement and possibility in Murakami's work.
It's in the very DNA of the book, right?
Absolutely. And it's one of the reasons I think his work resonates so deeply with contemporary readers. We live in a world that's increasingly surreal, fragmented. Murakami's writing captures that feeling perfectly.
Okay, so speaking of things that capture a certain feeling, can we talk about the music? Because I was struck by how Murakami uses music in Kafka's journey. You've got Led Zeppelin, you've got Prince. It just feels so fitting for this rebellious teenager on the run.
And it's not just background noise, is it? Music is almost like another character in Murakami's world.
Right. And then there's this shift when Kafka ends up in that quiet library surrounded by classical music. I mean, it's a completely different vibe. So what do you think? Is Murakami just showing off his eclectic taste in music? Or is there something more at play there?
Oh, I don't think it's just about personal taste. I think the music is always serving a deeper purpose in his work. Remember those collisions we were talking about earlier? The clash of cultures, past and present. I think the music reflects that. You've got high culture bumping up against pop culture, the rawness of rock and roll juxtaposed with the elegance of classical.
Wow, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like the music itself is mirroring the themes of the book.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And it's another way Murakami draws us deeper into the story, into the inner lives of his characters.
And it's not just about the contrast, right? It's like the music becomes this way for Murakami's characters to connect with something deeper, a moment of peace, amidst all the chaos and strangeness. Like that scene where Kafka listens to that old Prince record in the cabin. It's like the music itself offers this kind of refuge.
Exactly. It's primal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Music taps into something that transcends language and logic, so it makes sense that Murakami would use it to explore these deeper emotional currents in his characters' lives.
It's all connected, right? The music, the magical realism, these intertwined destinies. And speaking of connections, we were talking earlier about all those mysteries, all the unanswered questions that Murakami leaves us with. And there was that one line from the source material that really stuck with me about how the deeper you go, the more you find. It almost feels like, I don't know, like he's telling us to embrace the complexity, to let go of the need for easy answers.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way to look at it because ultimately it's not about solving some grand puzzle, is it? It's about learning to sit with the unknown. Look at Kafka at the end of the book. He doesn't necessarily have all the answers about his past, about his future, but he comes to terms with that sandstorm inside. He learns to navigate that chaos. And in a way, that in itself is a kind of resolution.
It is. It's that acceptance, that willingness to keep searching. I think that's what makes this book resonate so strongly. You finish it, and you're left with this feeling, this very distinct feeling, that the journey itself is more important than the destination.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's about the process of discovery, both for the characters and for us as readers.
It makes me think about that line we came across about a lovesick ghost. We didn't even get to that. It's like, just when you think you're starting to get a handle on Murakami's world, he throws something else into the mix, something totally unexpected. And I can't help but wonder, what does it even mean to be a lovesick ghost in a world where cats can talk and fish fall from the sky? It's the kind of question that stays with you long after you finish the book. And I think that's the magic of Murakami, isn't it? He invites us to ask these questions, to embrace the strange and wonderful possibilities that exist just beyond the edges of our everyday reality. So if you're ready for a deep dive, for a real deep dive into a world where anything is possible, then Kafka on the Shore is waiting.